Hi, and welcome to this Freedom Matters conversation. I'm Jay Hobbs. I'm joined today by Tyson Langhofer, my colleague and friend at Alliance Defending Freedom. Tyson runs our Center for Academic Freedom at ADF, and we've got Tyson on here to talk about a case that we recently featured as a Freedom Matters episode. Could you tell us about it, Tyson?
Sure. So Maggie DeJong was a third-year art therapy student at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. And in her final semester, at the beginning of the semester, she received 3 no-contact orders. Now, most people are probably not familiar with no-contact orders, but they're essentially a restraining order. And the university basically told her that you cannot have any direct or indirect communication with 3 students in this program. And that was very concerning for Maggie, obviously, because basically they told her that if you violate these orders, you could be punished, suspended or expelled from the program. And, being in your final semester of a third-year graduate program, that's pretty concerning. So that's when ADF got involved.
It's interesting we bring up kind of the restraining order parallel. If we're thinking about this as kind of a college-style restraining order, then you would imagine that A, Maggie had some really offensive things to say, and that B, she was kind of pestering and going beyond the limits of what somebody ought to be doing. And this is a last resort for her fellow students. So walk us through that. What did she say? Did she pester? How did that really play out?
Sure. So I think that's absolutely the first assumption I think people would have. Oh, you hit a restraining order, the government must have heard something really bad. Unfortunately, the reason we're involved is because that's not what happened. In fact, Maggie had been friends with 2 of these students for entire time there, and this was her 3rd year. So this was the final semester of her 3rd year in the program. And essentially, what we later found out, we didn't know what she was being accused of initially, but what we later found out was they had taken some social media posts that she had made over a year period, and then a text conversation that she had had almost 6 months prior with one of the students. And essentially, all Maggie had done had shared her views regarding issues on religion, issues of race, issues of politics, things that everybody shares about every day on social media.
Even though Maggie's views were, deemed so offensive and so far outside of bounds by administrators that they would serve her kind of these drastic no contact orders, that same phrase that Maggie used, the same conversation, reappeared on campus a few months later. Tell us about that and how that kind of plays into the larger story here.
Sure. So at one time, Maggie had posted on social media something about her religious beliefs. One of the students reached out to Maggie and inquired, why do you believe what you believe? And Maggie said, well, hey, my personal held beliefs are based in the objective truth of Jesus Christ. And they went on to have quite a long conversation on text over a couple days. Months later, Maggie comes onto campus and she sees an art project in the art therapy program on the wall, and it's entitled "The Crushing Weight of Microaggressions." And what was interesting there was she sees all of these statements that were purportedly said by people in the program. And one of the things that was purportedly said was Maggie's direct quote, "My personal held beliefs are based on the objective truth of Jesus Christ." And this individual who made the art project, deemed that a microaggression and something that should be called out and not even be allowed to be said on campus because somehow you're harming other students when you're sharing what your personal held beliefs are based in.
One of the wrinkles in this is that Maggie's speech is so offensive, it's so bad, but then it appears months later in this. Maggie is being really humiliated and in a lot of ways just dragged in front of everyone. And it's an art therapy program. These are people that are training to be therapists, and it's not a big program. What are some of the things that kind of are at play there that we should really be aware of and thinking about?
Well, the art therapy itself is a very small national program. There's not that many art therapists in the nation. And so the art therapy program at SIU is small. It's about 30 people total for all 3 classes. So it's 10 to 11 students per class. So again, this happened, the no contact orders were issued in Maggie's final year, third and final year in the final semester. So she had been with two of the students were in her cohort. And so she had been with these students, interacted with these students on a daily basis for almost 3 years. They had had many conversations about all kinds of different topics, that are discussed on a daily basis that we as citizens are discussing, politics and religion and race and how to deal with all of these very, controversial and divisive sometimes topics. And so this was a very difficult thing to be told. You can't talk to 2 of the 10 students in your class, given that everybody takes the same classes. They're all in the same buildings. And if she came into a room where one of those students was, she'd have to leave. Because otherwise she'd be violating this. And the punishments are pretty drastic. They can be suspension or even expulsion.
It's amazing when we talk through this. Where are the adults in the room in all this? I mean, a restraining order, a no contact order, it's like you said, it's a drastic thing to go to. It's a last resort that people have, availed to them in the law, but it's usually not the first thing people appeal to.
Sure. Well, it's really concerning because the adults in the room are the ones that are actually taking the bad action. I mean, that's the surprising thing. So here's what we find out later. I mean, the first response that Maggie had was the no contact orders. None of these 3 students had ever asked her not to talk to her about these subjects or not to talk to them at all. If she'd been asked that, she would have done that. That's fine. That's just normal, interaction, right? But what happened was one student apparently had been following Maggie. They were all following her on social media. They've been following her for about a year, began culling the posts that she thought were wrong or she disagreed with. She then takes them to the head of the program, and the head of the program, instead of saying, hey, this is Maggie's right. If you don't like her post, don't follow her, right? Or if you don't want to engage in conversation about religion with her, don't talk to her about that. But instead, she said, go to the dean. And then the dean says, go to Title IX. And the Title IX coordinator, this final stop, says, oh, this is drastic enough that we're going to issue these no contact orders and tell her that if you violate these, you could be expelled. And then to top it off, when she got this email, a police officer on campus was copied on the email, as if to say, hey, by the way, law enforcement may be called if you decide to, violate this order.
Incredible. I mean, I think one of the takeaways that I get, at least from hearing about this and knowing about it, is it seems like at least the administrators and instructors in Maggie's program do not want Christian art therapists graduating from their program and practicing. How do you come away with a different conclusion than that?
Well, yeah, I mean, you definitely come away. When you look at the evidence, that's what you come away with. And the reason we know this is because eventually, when we got involved, we sent a letter and we said, you must take these no contact orders off. These are a violation of our First Amendment rights. And by the way, let us know what she did because we still don't know. And they finally gave that to us. And as we pieced it all together, and they removed the orders because they recognized they were wrong, what we found out is that the students then, after they were removed, began this campaign to say, look, people like Maggie who hold traditional biblical sexually orthodox views, shouldn't be allowed in therapy. And because somehow that these views are maybe going to violate, some one of her clients' rights in some ways. And I think the concern there, right, here's the concern. Maggie holds views which probably about half of America holds, right? I mean, these are just traditional views, and many of those people are going to need therapy, right? They're going to need to seek out counselors. And they're essentially telling these people in America that you don't deserve to have a therapist who shares your views. Obviously, they would disagree with that. They want somebody, if they were needing therapy, that shares their views. And so I think that's the real concern is saying that the people with Judeo-Christian ethics don't have the right to participate as therapists in America.
Yeah. So if I'm in need of therapy, if I need counseling, I'm going to have a hard time finding anyone who agrees with my overall worldview as a Christian.
One of the things that is a concern is that they're essentially saying that Christians are the only ones who can't interact with or deal with people who have different beliefs. They obviously are going to have to deal with. I mean, if half of America, holds views like Maggie's, are they not competent? Culturally competent to give therapy to them? Of course they are. We all are going to be able to do that. But essentially, the only group that is being called out here and being said it's not possible for you to put your beliefs aside or to work through those things are Christians. And I think that's the concern. That's the message that's being sent, to people like, who want to go into these programs. They're going to say, man, I don't know if I want to go through that for 3 years to have to be told that your views are somehow make you incompetent to be able to be an art therapist.
Tyson, it was really great to hear about Maggie's story and the way the ADF has represented her throughout the case. Next time, we're going to talk about the follow-up that the ADF has done with the university and with Maggie. So we hope you join us, and we'll see you then. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. Before you leave, click like on the video, click subscribe on the channel, and make sure you click that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.